Lehman went bust in 2008, and this financial calamity continues. This disaster is expanding, and today I will cover the 6 signs we are about to suffer Lehman Part 2. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. We're going to get through these today, but first a little history, and you can read this for yourself. I'll just cover a couple points I wanted to touch on for those who don't know. This is out of the Telegraph. The collapse of Lehman Brothers. They filed for bankruptcy on September 15, 2008. And then obviously we had big issues that expanded over the course of the next year or so and continue until this day. Lehman Brothers posted a $4 billion third quarter loss after $5.6 billion of write-downs on toxic mortgages. We all know what happened during the financial crisis, and we saw that this wasn't a crisis that happened overnight. It also wasn't just because of the toxic mortgages, but it went further back than that. I'll cover it in a moment throughout this video here, but essentially if you want more history on Lehman, this is a good place to start. Right here, we're looking at the Business Insider, and they're talking about the global dollar economy now shrinking. And look at the chart on the left-hand side, where you see that same decline occurring that was only a few years ago happening again today. The dollar economy is down by just over 5% since July, marking a loss of just over $4 trillion in nominal terms. Now, $4 trillion is a significant amount of money. However, compared to the overall amount of credit that's out there, surely it is significantly smaller, but it is still a large amount of money, something that we should take note of. The last sharp contraction of the dollar economy took place in 2008, and they're referring to that time right around Lehman Brothers crashing. So we're going to move on here to yet another indicator, IBM revenue year-over-year change, and you could see for yourself the most recent numbers heading to the Lehman Brothers territory. Now, this is just one single stock, but you can see this with other stocks, in fact, and other indicators. But IBM is definitely a good sign in many ways. It's a reputable company, and this is just yet another indicator. So we're going to move on right here to one of the biggest companies, Goldman Sachs. Goldman tumbles on worst FICC revenue since Lehman. And in fact, the average employee compensation drops to 2012 levels. Goldman Sachs is notorious for having their people in the highest positions of power in not only the US government, but globally as well. They have maximum control over the laws and regulations that are put on top of us. And yet even they are having problems right now heading back into Lehman territory. Let's move on right here. I covered it already, but let's get into it here with the carnage continuing as the Swiss stocks logged the worst week in 6 years. This is new information. I covered it talking about how the currency was once again allowed to float after they removed the peg to the euro, and instantly it goes up 30%, going to show you how desperate money wanted to go into the Swiss franc. And here they are. As the currency goes up, the stock market came down, in fact posting the worst week since Lehman Brothers had their issues. And let's move on. This is a global problem that is occurring. Clearly, we'll see this here. Oil hub Calgary's 25% home sales drop is most since Lehman. Brand new information out of Business Week. Canada's oil capital suffered the biggest monthly drop in home sales since the start of the financial crisis, as tumbling oil prices deter would-be buyers. So we have an issue where oil prices are declining, and that is, of course, scaring off the peripherals being, in this case, real estate. And they said that this is the biggest decline since October of 2008, right around the crash of Lehman Brothers. So we can see how things are continuing to slide. We are seeing the same dramatic drop that is occurring just as it was back during Lehman. But it's not just the stock market that you have to pay attention to. It is as many indicators as you possibly can. When the majority of them are heading downward, you need to start realizing that things are getting bad. So that's why at the Money GPS, I don't show you 1 or 2 or 3 indicators. I show you literally as many as I can possibly find. And then you take that information and you do what you want with it. So let's move on right here where we see capital flows out of the UK before Scots vote on independence. This was obviously back in September, but just going to show you it is still happening today. This is out of Reuters. Investors pulled $27 billion out of UK financial assets last month, the biggest capital outflows since Lehman crisis in 2008. So we are still heading in that direction, and it's happening not just for one reason. You can see already that I'm showing you it's happening for many reasons. So in my book, I wrote about this, and that is the expansion of the monetary supply. And where do you think it's going to head when we hit into another crisis, financial crisis part 2? Where do you think it's going to head? Well, you can see from this chart, it's very clear where it's going to go. They're going to expand the monetary base dramatically again. We thought it could never happen like this. This is the hockey stick of all hockey sticks. And of course, it's just going to happen once again. Expect it to. This right here is out of the Telegraph. The economic prophet who foresaw the Lehman crisis with uncanny accuracy is even more worried about the world's financial system going into 2015. These are some pretty interesting quotes right here. We are in a world that is dangerously unanchored, something that I've been talking about since my book and even before that, but essentially just trying to tell everyone that when you have these asset-backed securities, when you have collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps, and all of the other garbage that is sloshing around in the financial markets, being traded, being repackaged, being rehypothecated over and over again, and you look at it and you try to figure to yourself, how is this standing on nothing but its own garbage? There's no reality left. I shake my head every time we have deniers about this. It's pretty amazing. We're seeing true currency wars and everybody's doing it, and I have no idea where this is going to end. Well, I'll have to answer for William White right here. The fact is that it's heading in a downward direction. He's saying currency wars. He's saying that everybody's doing it. These are two things that I consistently repeat over and over and over again. We are in a race to the bottom. So just one last thing. As we have Davos, or the World Economic Forum, going on right now as we speak, we are seeing this disparity that is growing, where we have the richest of the rich going to meet together to discuss a problem which is not affecting them. It is only affecting the middle class and even the upper middle class and everyone below. Billionaires, world leaders, and pop stars are clogging up the skies with their private jets as they descend on the World Economic Forum. So they're going to talk about issues such as climate change. At the same time, approximately 1,700 private jets are expected to fly into the region. And that's where you see the disparity is very clear. It's very obvious. When you have the richest of the rich in the world trying to make decisions for us, you know there's a big problem. It isn't the so-called rich that they talk about, when they are really just part of the middle class or the upper middle class, they often own businesses. They are often the people who are supporting many of the jobs out there. It is small businesses who are really the real growth that we need. The big businesses are the ones who are getting the bailouts. They're the type like Warren Buffett who get money from the bailout packages, which is not coming from the government, it's coming from us. That's why when you have any sort of package, any sort of TARP type bailout, it's not coming from the government. This is foolish. It's coming from you. And that's why we need to stop all of this right now. We are seeing that we are headed in the exact same direction. Here are just 6 examples of how we're headed in the exact same Lehman Brothers incident. And it's going to get worse. It's going to surpass what happened during Lehman Brothers. And we are already headed in that direction. It is very clear. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. And just to mention to everybody, I'm having the live chat. I'm hoping to have it within the next couple weeks here. Please stay tuned for that, where we can discuss. I can have a live Q&A session. We could bring up some of the questions. I can answer them for you and get to as many people as I possibly can, because quite frankly, now that we are over 14,000 subscribers, it is extremely difficult for me to reply to everybody. I try to just, reply to here and there, because there's so many emails coming in the inbox, because the message of truth is expanding. And that is incredible to know. It's incredible to have that feeling, to know that the truth is getting out there. Sure, we're trying to bail out the ocean with a thimble, and it is not so easy, but we're doing so slowly but surely. I want to thank each and every one of you for staying tuned. Please spread the word of truth. And if you want to get a hold of me, if you want the best intel, that is available at themoneygps.com. Scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.